Last week, somebody reached out to me to ask if I could do some air modeling of the wildfires that have been ravaging the Los Angeles area over the past few weeks. He was worried about his health issues being exacerbated by bad air quality from the fires, and he thought modeling could help him answer some questions. It was an unusual request, and as I explained to him, the modeling analysis he was asking for would be a stupendous undertaking and most likely, at best, give pretty dubious results. It was an interesting conversation, so I thought I'd relay it here. So my response to him centered on what I think are two of the three main inputs for modeling: emissions inventory and meteorological data. With regards to the emissions inventory, modeling impacts from these fires is tremendously complicated. Think of modeling a power plant. The main emissions come from stacks which don't move, they don't change shape. It's pretty straightforward to calculate how much of a given pollutant is being emitted and under what stack conditions that pollutant is being emitted. Now think of that approach with a wildfire. Well, first, at best you can estimate where the fire is burning at any one time, but you very likely don't know exactly where. Second, the fire grows over time, so on hour 2, your source is larger than it was in hour 1, etc., etc. Now let's talk about emissions. What pollutants are being emitted? Well, that depends on fuel. What trees are burning where? Maybe one type of tree burns more readily than another, so it takes less time for those trees to burn and release their pollutants than another type. And what happens when the fire reaches homes? What exactly is in those homes that are being burned and what pollutants are being emitted? What about cars? They have gasoline in them, but different cars have different amounts of gasoline and different types. What are those pollutants? And when the fires are done, that ash gets picked up and blown around by the wind. What is in that ash? Where did it land and how much of it becomes airborne? As you can see, the emissions inventory is astonishingly complicated. So now let's move on to the meteorological data. Like many wildfires, the fires around Los Angeles were frequently on hillsides, so you have all sorts of topographic influences on the winds. And wildfires themselves frequently burn so hot, they essentially make their own weather. And none of these microscale meteorological conditions are captured in data that you would get from a nearby airport, or maybe even in prognostic data that you could make for that specific location. And again, because those fires are moving, those meteorological factors are constantly changing over time. So my heart does go out to everybody affected by those fires, and I did applaud this fellow for exploring an option like modeling to see if it could be helpful. Unfortunately, I don't think we can get much useful information from modeling in this case.